you know, starting to grind back the wheels, you can see the original paint is this green, and at one point it was silver, and they've had some red oxide undercoat and at least one layer of white, probably 2 layers of white. So if I turn these over, and this one's typical of all the 4 that I got, we can have a look and see the original paint under there. These were never painted on the back, so they've only ever had sort of front coat tar tops. So what I do preliminary is go over them with a wire wheel, which gets rid of 90%, maybe 80% of the paint. You've got to be careful going around the valve, because with a wire wheel it'll go straight through these rubber valves. I mean, I just nicked that one a couple of times and I just hit the valve cap. It's the first time I've done that. I'm normally a bit more careful. Anyway, so when this one will need, I'll go over it with a Dremel, get rid of all the paint. Yeah, then they come up. This is with some rust converter. This one was a little bit more rusty. You can see the pitting. And this will need to have some sort of degreasing. With the degreasing. Now this is the one with it's the Land Rover balancing weight, which is a factory thing. So I'll leave that on there. Ugh, it's a factory thing. Yeah, so this will need to be degreased. And then after a couple of days they harden off enough for you to be able to put them on. Really should do something about making that look a bit prettier, the valve, and I'm not going to bother doing that just yet. It's got to go on and off a couple of times, I should think, because we can get to all the brake components while the tub is off. So in case I didn't make a note earlier, so all 4 wheels are now on, and if I zoom in, hopefully we can see the serial number under there, which is 272309, and 3 of the 4 look like that, with that big stamp style font, you would call it, a big font style. It's not the finest paint job in the world, and in fact I think this is the one where I left some of the original paint on it just as a sort of nostalgic thing. I was never going to get a very good finish, but that's no excuse. Yeah, so this wheel at the back, which I've actually missed a bit actually looking at it, this is the one with the wheel weight, and this is the one with the different font. Zoom in on that font. It's got a different font for the serial number, but the serial number is the same, 272309, upside down in this case. So I mean, with hindsight I'd probably leave these metal coloured, probably lacquer the metal. I haven't even painted that very well, so that's just a little thing. I started to clean this fuel pipe, and we have here one of the fixings to the chassis has got to come off and be painted and rust preserved or cured, what have you. And so the masking tape denotes where on the pipe it actually goes back. Likewise, further down there's another one on either side of the masking tape for that one. It's just one of the little screw clips that I want to make sure isn't going to fall to pieces in the future. Now I was at odds as whether to put the bolts that side or the bolts the other side. So I wonder, I'll have to research how it came out, because I know I definitely took it out. And I've definitely put the bolt facing down on that one, and it was the other way up when I took it off. So it sounds like pedantry, but you've got to do these things right. Well, that'll be part one. Now part two. Right, put this little, another spider down here. I just cleared all the cobwebs away, Mr. Spider. Anyway, this little brake support. So in there goes a little 2BA with a clip to hold the brake line into the flexible. Now on this side, this is for the left-hand drive one, so it's not used. These pieces of masking tape denote where there was a clip that holds the fuel line down, and because I left it there, and I marked where this was clipped, I know that this hole is for the clip that goes there, and this hole next to it is for the brake pipe. Now the brake pipe goes under this clip because this has a bigger clip, so I won't be able to clip this down until the brake pipe is on. This is the rear right brake pipe, which is missing a fitting. It's missing a fitting at the other end. This goes to the T-piece. It's on the right hand side. So when I bought one off the internet, I received fittings, but it's just a straight pipe. So I fished this one out of the dustbin because I'm going to use it as a template. And I'm not sure whether this one was formed by hand or whether it's actually factory or something. But anyway, so, you know, how am I going to do this? You know, well, I've put this socket, I've got this method off the internet, got a socket, it's in the extension to hold it in the vise, and I'm going to use it, and I've been practicing with the old pipe to bend it round where it needs to be bent round. So if I look at the first piece, I'm going to take it out of the packet in a minute. But this has got, hello. Well, anyway, this is the end of it, and it normally would have fittings on it. So it's sort of, what I'm going to do is mark this with a piece of masking tape so I know where to put the bend. And then I'm going to follow this bend round until I'm happy that it's mimicking the first one. And I'm going to continue that process. And I've chosen this one because it's actually the smallest pipe. I've got plenty of other pipes, the front right one, the front left one. I'm not looking forward to doing the front left one, which is quite a long pipe. Anyway, so the first thing to do is take it out the packet. I'm going to put a piece of masking tape here, which denotes where I'm going to start this first bend. The thing is, of course, I've lost my fittings here. So I've got to sort of guesstimate how much of a fitting I've got here. How much I've lost off the original pipe, and I'm going to guess it's about that much. So here we are, I've used a bit of masking tape. As I get better at this, I think I won't need to put masking tape on it. But I'm still a newbie, so I'm putting a bit of masking tape on there just to show me that it's sort of going to go down there at 45 degrees. I would say that's 45 degrees. It's probably quite an easy, simple one to do. It looks like it's 45 degrees there, then go 45 degrees there, and then I'll reassess the situation when I get that far. So I've started to work into this. I think it's quite hard to do it so near to an end. So my angle's actually slipped down further than I would have liked. The angle here, I meant to do it a little bit closer. I don't actually know how much of the pipe I lost, the fitting. And I know I haven't got probably much to play with. And that's just got to come down a sort of another 5 to 10 degrees to make it, so that would cover that. Although, like I said, I don't know if this is the original pipe. So I must say, like, you know, the feeling that you're bending this pipe is a bit of a heart in the mouth, because you don't want to kink it. Which if you didn't press it up against the round edge here, you'd certainly be kink in it. Anyway, so the next, I mean, quite happy with that. It's not perfect, but the next you can see that there's a 45° upwards so that it goes straight along. So that's, and it's about there. Like I said, this is a bit of a guess because we've got a broken brake pipe here. So I'm going to do it about there. I'm going to try and turn that. It's a two-hand operation, and it's you know, just going to use this to bend it round. Okay, so it's a bit of a guesstimate, coming round sort of roughly. And like I said, I just want it ballpark and then I'll fettle it. Now these, I can't reuse these because the rubber is too perished, and I've actually got some other ones in the post, which is typical. So I might use them just to set it up. So now this actually rises up in the air, this one. It looks like it's about there. I'll put my piece of masking tape there and bend it round. So, recapping, I put some masking tape here to remind me where the first sort of radius was. It didn't actually work out, it was very hard to bend it. I had to guess the length. I've lost some length of pipe here. I don't know about this pipe, whether it's the original pipe or a hand bent pipe from some other previous repair. So we go round there, that's why the masking tape is there. Again, I put some masking tape just to remind me where to put the curve. Now I'm going to ignore this curve here, this S curve. I'm going to use that to help me to fettle this in, because it bolts to the brake anchor, the brake pipe plates. It bolts on along this flat piece. Incidentally, when I got this pipe, it didn't have these on it. I can't actually use these P-clips. These P-clips, I just put these on there to help me line it up on the machine a minute ago. So what I'm going to do is put this curve up the top here on this form before I do this middle bend. So I'm going to sort of put a piece of masking tape here and bend that around as if it was going into the caliper. So this has left me with something like this, which is actually what I've been left with. And I'm going to go and offer this up to the machine now just to see how far out this is, how much play. Actually, I could just make that a little bit more square. I started to offer this up, so I've gone into the caliper. And if I don't want to force anything, but it's right up here. Okay, so that angle there has to come right down. More like it has to come down sort of 20 degrees. So I'm going to remember that angle there. And then this one up here is going to be much more of a right angle. Okay, so I've screwed it into the caliper again, and it's obvious it's a little bit out. And it's too high. So I'm going to I've taken all the masking tape off, you notice. I'm going to put fresh pieces of masking tape on where I want this to now be. Bear in mind it's got to be P-clipped in. So I'm actually going to want to bring it down. So I'm going to put a piece of I'm going to want to bring this down. I'm going to want to put a piece of masking tape here to bend this down to a completely new angle, and it wants to be in. I'm going to put a piece of masking tape there and bend that right down. So it's P-clipped in. I'm a bit upset that it didn't screw in far enough. Okay, I don't know whether that's anything. That one screwed in a lot further. So now on the other side, let's have a look. I screwed it into the caliper, hasn't gone in quite so far that side. I wonder if it would screw in a bit more. No. Okay, so we'll put the P-clips in, and now we've got to here, and well, spoiler is, it's too short, so I've got to actually remove it from the P-clips and try and try and work out how I'm going to get some more millimeters out of it. I think I'm going to bring it down, just going to bring it, rather than have it sticking out here, it'll be closer. Alright, during all the confusion, I don't know where I am now. So we P-clipped on and we've attached brake line so the caliper was in the right place, which means we don't have those lock tab washers. Now there's one more clip to go on. One more clip to go on there, a big metal one. T-piece is in place. We're P-clipped on the other side, likewise, to the caliper. Flexible hose in. And then we've put this brake line in the back. Let's walk around and have a look at this. I had to make a brake clip, the other one had broken. And nearly £3 each, genuine. It made sense to make that one. Right, it goes under this PET fuel line. Got the fuel line clamped in. We're up to the 5-piece. Need a new stop switch, and the old one won't fit in the hole, so I'll have to put some tissue paper in there later. Oh, and so that means we've got the left brake done. This is the left one, so let's follow this one. Again, that goes under the fuel line, I think. This is in better than the last one. The one that I took off this was incorrectly fitted. So we go under here. I've gone under here, lost a little bit of paint off the brake pipe. That's not important. I mean, well, it's important, but it's not catastrophic. It's held in with this clip, then it goes under, up to this clip, and then it goes sort of under here to that clip. It's clipped in here, then it goes through this device, which is held on there, and then it goes into here. And just like previous pictures, it goes into the right of the brake wheel cylinder. Alright, we'll be ready next time. So that's leaving us to put the right hand flexible hose in, as well as the right hand metal hose, which would go to this part of the junction, 5-way junction. Now I've got some little connectors. They're not Land Rover ones. The Land Rover ones are on the genuine Land Rover wires. So I had to use these connectors. They're soldered on, that's why they're partially melted, but not to worry. Right, let's have just a quick overview of the bulkhead. Okay, got it sat down on trestles out here. Now, with a view to removing all the wires to make the thing easier to transport, that's going to be a different kettle of fish. And so there's several jobs to do here, really. I mean, let's start in this corner. this piece of weld is actually in the way of the repair that needs to go on here. And if we go to the other side, well, you can see it from here, the little dragon's head has got to go. Bring you back over here. So the dragon's head has to go here. That bubble weld's in the way. Obviously it needs extensive sort of anti-rust or rust conversion treatment. I've already been repairing, and now the whole doorpost is off, of course. And I need to ask myself whether I want to fit the doorpost here. We need to get a vacuum cleaner as well. Quite a lot of rust going on. So these sort of parts, we probably want to undo these and take these off. I know you can get these in Galv, but I need to ask myself whether I want to fit the doorpost here. Not now, obviously, but later. And put the hinge nuts in when it's off the machine. So going along here, we've got the, oh, there's a spider, sorry about that. Oh dear. So the foam for the thingy goes here, for the flap. Now this was the last repair I did, which is really rubbish. I think what we need to do is grind that off and start again. And if we grind that off, we can use that as a sort of a point where, you know, we'll start repairing it again properly, because we don't really want repairs like that, do we? Even though we have to drill a hole in that so that the other bumper bonnet rubber, which is what that thing in the centre of the screen is. Bring you back to it. So we've got to drill a hole in that and put the bumper rubber in it, the bonnet rubber. Okay, now under here it's just starting to go. There's just some holes along there, really awkward to get to. It might involve cutting that stay off altogether and repairing it like that, but let's go and have a look while we're here. We'll walk around the back of the tree. You know, so the main thing, which is, it's a genuine, stuff it full of newspaper and use some filler. You know, let's stuff it full of newspaper and put some filler in there. No one will ever know. But we're not going to do that. We're going to weld that. We'll weld that up, and it's a real awkward little bugger to get to. In that, the main awkward part of it is preparing it. Actually getting in there with a grinder or something to actually take it back to metal that we can work on. Anyway, so I might have to fix the finger sander to do that, which hasn't got any, the finger sander hasn't got any thingies, sanding discs. But, do something about that, and you probably need to drill that out. Get ready to pop rivet those things on there. Yeah, so obviously it needs a lot of Genolite. That's the main repair, as well as, of course, the doorpost repair, the pillar bottom, and then there's one or two other little repairs around the tunnel area. We've started to do one there, we've kind of finished that. Right, and we want to be taking these bits off. And then, you know, to cap it all, we probably want it to look reasonably well painted. Now let's go and have a look at, you know, so we've started to experiment with the paint that we've got, which is this. Now bear in mind the pedal boxes go right over that, so this patchwork you won't even see it, okay? And the way that we did it, you'll see this, yeah, you'll see that patchwork alright, but you know, from the inside you're going to be, if you're looking for it, of course you'll see it. So it's a repaired bulkhead, big deal. We did quite well to actually save that whole area, but no, this isn't really acceptable. This is, I don't know what I was thinking. So we're going to take that off, and you know, I just have to ask myself, hey, are we actually going to repair the doorpost in this situation? The throttle stop goes there, and I think we've obviously got to make provision by grinding some of this repair. So it's going to be a lot of painting, grinding, etc. We also need to fit a new rubber one of these. These harness wires I've labelled SS. They go on the starter solenoid. One's big and one's small. So rather than undo these solenoid nuts, it's easier just to remove the starter button from inside and pull this out, I'm pretty sure. There were some things here, and these are those. If I bend forward this tab, which is easy said and done with this thick old screwdriver. By the way, this scratch, obviously I didn't do that. It's got rust on it. Right, well that's what happens, you see, it disappears. Now if I look down on the ground, it disappeared actually into probably another dimension. Here it is. Okay, so that's the first one of them clips, and you see how it removed from the back. But this thing isn't. There's another one here, and this is for that little one, the one that had the little lonesome individual wire. So no, this is a small one. There we go. He just dropped out onto the floor. Here he is. That's the one. And I'm glad we got them out. We've got to take this off, paint it black and put it back. And we've got to get that frame off, which looks to be green. Now I saw something. Oh yeah, look at this. They've got paint runs, and the paint runs from underneath this. Look at that. So that's weird, isn't it? You think someone must have sprayed it and it ran? That's so odd. I don't see how you could do that. Anyway, I've got a large hole here with some obvious repairs needing to be coming further up here. We've got to drill off the rest of this old door seal. I want to remove this and clean the overspray off it. Where this comes up all the way, let's go and have a look at the other end. Now we've got it up to here. I don't really want to come all the way up. Door pillar material, but we've got to put the top hinge in. So in answer to my earlier question, I did actually fix the B pillar and the door post while it was off the vehicle. And you know, it's nearly satisfactory, but it'll have to do. Ready to, these paint runs are mine. So I've got to paint it the same colour the whole way through because it is a slightly different shade. Okay, it's a slightly different shade. It could be to do with the time. This is older paint, but you know, it's like difference between olive and pine, isn't it? It's real big old difference. Okay, so come back here, one of the last repairs. This is joggling around a bit, but this piece of angle, I put this piece of angle in. Okay, we put that piece of angle in. It's stuck between two worlds. We've got to do the same on the other side. Okay, that piece of angle. Got to cut it off, put it on, and then put this little side piece in. That's easy but time consuming, that. Okay, we've offered up the door. We've fitted the lower hinge, and we temporarily fitted the upper hinge earlier. And the position is really good. It's so good you wouldn't be able to adjust it for any change. We're a little cautious that the weather strip retainer might just be a little bit high. If we look over the other end, we can see it That's the factory one. It's just sticking up over. It just sticks up over. See along there? That last bit sticks up over the forming. So it's going to stick up a little higher. It's going to stick up a little bit higher along this last bit. Anyway, we're only ready to weld it just down here. Anyway, so we've removed the steering column. Now that actually slides on these, so it does enable a little bit of a play to get the ideal. But we've got to dig further. We've got to take this old sponge out, and as we're going to repaint it, we're going to have to take out all the old grommets. Now these grommets look the same as the grommets you get on the seat box. So we'll have to compare those. Got another clip to take out, and the difficulty is removing these screw bolts for the earth points on the harness, and we don't want to paint over these dash jobbies. I think they're supposed to be not painted, but I can't remember. I've never really seen an authentic one. We'll leave this in position. We'll have to take that grommet out. We've obviously got to take the chassis plate off. Now we've definitely experimented and found a way to create this form, which is the spire nut form. Let's have a look at one on the machine right there. So we've got something that will take a spire nut and seat it comfortably, and that's got to go in there when we're ready to do that repair. So that repair, and that there's a little piece of angle which looks something like that angle, and that virtually completes this side. I'm going to really have to scrutinize to find anything else. I mean, there might be one or two little pieces to patch up where we were learning to weld, and there we have definitely left one or two little gaps. I think there's some gaps there, but they're not gaps, they're just holes. Tiny little pinholes. Anyway, and then we've got to flip it over, and we've got to do that really awkward repair, the really awkward underneath repair, and then we might be in a position to just finally address any holes that we might have in this windscreen weather strip, and then we can start to file down anything, any grinds that we don't, any welds that we don't like, and grind them down. To be honest, I'm not that bothered about it, you know. I don't care, so you can see it's been repaired. Cool. Look at the runs on this. I mean, it's not a brilliant paint job because I didn't really grind down my welds that much, so I've brush painted it. But you know, I think in the future, if I do another one of these, I'm going to invest in some spray gear. You know, although this is what happens when you fix one up in your backyard. I mean, you're weather dependent. You need a spray booth for spray gear, really, unless you wanted to go all around the garden. You know what I mean? So, you know, I've left this bit. In fact, this is where the chassis plate goes. I've left that for now. Yeah, there's all kinds of runs and stuff, and this is upside down, of course. We'll turn it the right way up and finish painting. Oh, look at that, didn't even get down there very well. Huh? Missed a bit. It's hard to get into with that sprayer. Yeah, missed a bit. Okay, I'm here to fit the drag link, and we know that the ball joint, which looks like that, is inverse, so the castle nut is on top. Now this means I've got to turn this arm over because it's got a narrow end and the ball joint won't actually fit through that. The taper for the ball joint is widest here, So if the pendant ball joint has to come up from the bottom, like that's coming in from the top, that one. But if it has to come in from the bottom, it means that this arm is on the wrong way round. So I'm going to have to turn it off and we'll see where we go with this. Yeah, so I have to admit I should have seen this coming. It's got a part number 502715 MF-A3. Now it does correspond that it is a Land Rover part, not Massey Ferguson. But this is as bent up, sorry about the French there, right? This is as bent as a 3-bob note. And effectively, it should go this way up. Now, if you try and put it this way up with it being bent, and I'll explain why it has to go that way up and not that way up. If you put it that way up, it does work, but you'd have to put your track rod in this way, because this end is tapered, so it's got a narrow here and wide there, like your track rod is tapered. If you try and put the track rod in at the narrow end, it won't go in. You know, that isn't going to go. It's not how it works. So if you want to load it on the machine correctly, you'd have to put it in that way up. And the constraints of the actual chassis and the cross member mean that you can only turn it about so far. Only half what you would want to turn it. So I mean, I must admit I didn't see this coming. But if I want to put it, you know, it figures. If I want the machine to be authentic to the manual for that year, I've got to get myself a new one of these. So the drag link is going to have to wait. Can't put it on that way. It's got to go this way on the machine, so that, you know, and you're supposed to put this one's supposed to go up that way round. And this is so it's bent, you know. I mean, it's supposed to point up a little bit perhaps, but not that far. It's supposed to be down here. So whether someone did that on purpose, whether this part is a special part, I haven't been able to actually locate that part number, but I'm being directed to use the genuine part that's in the catalogue. So this, while it's not rubbish, it's not suitable for my long wheelbase. I've got a new hubcap here, as opposed to one of the other silver ones. Now, I actually discovered, thanks to all the rain, and I haven't touched these red things up either yet, so that needs to be done. But I actually discovered, due to the rain, that the water was getting in there, and it had made the slotted nut was all rusty, and that was causing a bit of a problem, and it was due to a dented hubcap. Well, that's replaced. We've got a bit of duckweed in there now. That's good, isn't it? A bit of duckweed. Anyway, so the gas tank is on. Look at that. So now there's a story behind this gas tank with a yogurt pot and some gaffer tape over the holes. There's a gasket that goes, well, there's a gasket made of sponge that goes there, and there's a joint washer for that. And I'm having to wait for the joint washer, and in the same consignment for the joint washer is the front right hose, brake pipe front, so that's not fitted. You know, all the other brake pipes are fitted. Oh, I've even fitted this post. Actually, I've got to. I fitted this in the rain. Okay, so that post, it simply bolts on there. This is known as a steering column bracket, even though it's on the left. And the bulkhead screws in here, and some of the tie rod for the bulkhead screws here, and it's got some accelerator gubbins for later that screws into it. Okay, so we've actually moved the position of the vehicle, and now that we're satisfied that the oil is not going to go everywhere, we can think about starting to put the tie rod, not tie rod, yeah, you know, the track rod ends and the steering rod in, steering arm. And talking of arms and levers, the lower relay lever, which is one of the first things I went to put on, I went to put the drag link on, and well, if I want to do it properly, I need a new lower relay arm. It's the long and short of it, you know. There, she's sitting in the yard, waiting to go on. I'm probably going to find discrepancies in the paint as I go on. But, yeah, whatever. Obviously, I want to be getting on with this, but what I really like, still waiting for this brake pipe. I think I'm going to get a sort of copper one off eBay or something while I'm waiting for this bear mark part. I actually want to check that all of this is okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick the brake pedal box on with the pedal. Now, that would be simple, wouldn't it? Yeah, but we've got to put this seal in first, because once the pedal box is here, it's hard to actually get to it. Likewise, once the pedal is hanging down here, the throttle stop would have been tricky, and there's a bracket for the accelerator shaft that goes there. So I'll put those on first. I can't even remember what goes here yet, so yeah, there's loads to be getting on with. And let's have a look around the other side. Yeah, the more I see this, the more I hate this paint job, to be honest. I don't know quite know what I can do about that, but at the moment, not a lot. So I've put this cap back. Now, when I got it, the nuts were pointing out. Now I've put it with the bolts pointing out. These are unused, which means I've got to put rubber grommets on them. I could have welded those up, you know, but I'm going to put rubber grommets in there. There was a rubber grommet on the top one when I got it, and one missing from the bottom, but we'll put a pair of those on there. We'll want some rubber grommets on this. Someone's enlarged that hole, which means it might be wanted for later. I should have welded that up, but I didn't. So let's walk out here. So we know that we put the master cylinder on. I've covered it in cling film because of the rain. Now I've developed an issue with the five-way junction, so that's off for now. Now I put on flexible hose now, you know, got to protect the rain and the dirt, so we've sellotaped and well, not cling film. We're having a lot of fun putting the accelerator together now. It's the best time to do it with the doors off and the wings off and the pedal box out. You can lean over, you have to lean over and do it. Wouldn't mind working out how much movement we can actually have with this. I mean, maybe if I went and actually read the instructions, it would say it's got to be such and such a distance off the throttle stop. I've not been able to find anything. Also, I've got a little bit of play there, you know, I don't know whether I should have that play. So this is it's a bit of a touch and go really, and it's where you don't want to be with the throttle gubbins. So we'll put this one on, and you can have L-shaped or U-shaped, but I haven't really been able to see. I suppose there is an L there, it's a kind of right angle, but well, whatever, we've got to put the one on the other side now.